Hello and welcome to the Business Advisory Show. We're here with Diane Lucas from Direct Management. How are you, Diane?
Hello, John. I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, we always do, we ask a couple of open-ended questions to hopefully to encourage Diane to share what she's willing in terms of her knowledge, which is fantastic. Diane, what does business advisory mean to you as a professional?
Thanks for having me on the show, John. What does it mean to me as a professional? Business advisory is key. It's actually, from a bookkeeper's perspective, it means that we're assisting our clients to be the best businesses they possibly can. And that goes beyond simple bookkeeping activities.
And in terms of your own business, Direct Management clearly is not the typical bookkeeping firm. And what differentiates you in that regard?
When I started Direct Management some time ago, back in 2006, I was very clear at that time then also that there were other services required other than bookkeeping, and that is what I consider to be consult. So I consider myself to be a bookkeeping consultant as opposed to a bookkeeper. And so what we have at Direct Management is two distinct arms, the advisory consult arm and the bookkeeping arm. And the two work very well together. So for example, we'll have prospects coming to us that require training or clean up. They'll be in a mess. They need advice on what to do in regards to developing efficiencies and things in their business. And so all of that is definitely, as I would call, consultancy work, and it's charged accordingly. And then often that sort of work will then move into a more regular bookkeeping type service. And other times it transitions into a fixed and closed in consulting engagement, which we then might educate them on how to do their own bookkeeping and things. So we're quite happy to morph into different engagements depending on what the client requires. So we will do as much or as little as needed.
Fantastic. And personally, I believe that the more complex the business advisor's own business, or at least historical experience combined in past life, helps them to become a more effective business advisor. In your own business, what perhaps has been the most valuable lesson as a business owner?
Good question. Lots and lots of lessons learnt over time. I think probably one of the ones that springs to mind first is honesty. Honesty comes in lots of ways. When I say you need to be honest, I think back, if I consider what I was 13 years ago when I first started Direct Management, of course I didn't know everything and I still don't know everything, but there is a definite requirement to be upfront and say, hey, look, I don't know the answer to this. Let me reach out to my network and I'll see what I can come up with. So even today, I'm very, very comfortable with acknowledging shortcomings in our skill set, and whether that means it's something that I can then pursue and find out through our network, or if it actually means saying, hey, look, this is just not part of our skill set and I really aren't interested in pursuing that, or it's just, it's not something I can't do from a time perspective, whatever, then I'll pass it on. And I think that sort of thing, business owners who absolutely respect that. Not everyone doesn't know the answer to everything, and that's just, you've got to be realistic about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well done. In terms of what you like the most and the least, in terms of what do you enjoy and what do you dislike, what are those two polarised ends of the spectrum?
What do I like the best? Definitely working with clients to bring them into order. To bring a disorganised business into focus, developing efficiencies and proficiencies in that business so we can streamline stuff. So many times we see where they're doing repetitive tasks in a manual way that can be then organised in much better with software, or just simply reassessing how things are done. What do I like least? Disorganisation and clients who are not coachable.
Oh, I think we can relate to that one.
So it's actually one of my key things is, in order to take on a client, they need to be coachable.
Yeah.
it's just, that's probably one of the key things in my list of ideal clients. And if they're prepared to work with us, and one of the other things is, I expect a client to be working in a partnership with us. So it's part of that is being coachable, and when we have that happy relationship, then magic happens.
Yeah. Can you think of an example where the radar was on, or the filter, and you could sense that...
Do I have a filter?
that you may not wish to work with a particular prospect? Not that I'm asking you to name them,
and I've still gone ahead.
Oh yeah.
That has happened. It's my filter is, my gut instinct is a lot more tuned in, and it's interesting. I've had discussions around, should you rely on your gut instinct in a business perspective in this sort of circumstance? And 9 times out of 10, if your gut tells you there's something stinks, then generally it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, I have been in that situation. Has it bitten me? Not with not necessarily financially. When somebody hurts my team, then they want to watch out. So yeah, I'm quick to call an end to a relationship like that.
Yeah, the precious client that pays out on your team members. That's often quite.
It's like the mother with the tigress mother. Don't hurt my cubs.
Yeah.
Same thing happens in my team.
Well done. Okay, now the big one. If you had your time over, what's the one thing that if you could just rewind the clock and do it differently in your business itself, that you would do that? What would be the one thing that you'd roll the clock back and do it over?
To be honest, I don't think there is anything that I would redo. The last 13, 14 years have been superb. The last 5 or 6 have been even better because I've been working with somebody to support me on my journey of business, in much the same capacity as you do in business advisory here. But everyone learns from mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. There's nothing. There's probably stuff in, from a personal aspect, regrets perhaps with regard to not being there enough for the kids as things got busier or whatever it might be in that regard. But from a business perspective, I think I've had to make every, scar that I've got have an impact. No regrets.
All right, now we have an exciting announcement, of course, and that is that Diane is attending as a keynote speaker the upcoming Accountants Big Day Out, which is a huge industry-based event, education for the entire advisory industry, I guess, and we're very proud to have a bookkeeper as one of the keynotes, and you've got a pretty provocative topic too, which I think is going to add a lot of value to those attendees.
I hope so.
So, regarding that particular topic, so the accounting and bookkeeper firm relations of the two firms and the synergy of peers.
Absolutely, synergy of peers is something I'm very passionate about. So, a lot of I deal a lot with bookkeepers, obviously, in my role. Is in various different levels, so I get to speak to a lot of people. I do speak to a lot of accountants. We have great accountant relationships as well. And so what I've learnt over time, and especially probably a big lesson I've had in my own beginning businesses as well, is when I first started off, I didn't have the confidence of what I was doing, and the self-doubt and all those sort of things that work into starting a business. And one of those things was holding accountants in awe, holding them up there on the pedestal and sort of like, I'm just the bookkeeper. And very, very quickly, I've learnt, or I did learn that is not a healthy relationship because accountants work to do what they do and bookkeepers do what they do, and together we actually work really well when the relationships really work well because we're there to work for the interests of our mutual client.
Yep.
So once I overcame my self-doubts and my fear of accounting firms. It's much like, I guess, like a doctor sort of nurse sort of concept. I very quickly came to realise that I have a great skill set that I can supplement to accounting firms, and so I never stopped wanting to challenge that relationship. And so when we have different discussions with regard to clients and things, if I don't necessarily understand or agree what's happening with from what comes from the accountant, then I'll definitely ask the questions. And so that's an interesting thing, because some accountants love that and will happily educate the bookkeeper in why these things are going down, or seek to clarify what that decision is all about. And other accountants find that very challenging and off-putting, and don't like a bookkeeper who has a mouth. So you could probably tell from that the relationships I have with best accountants would be ones that we can all communicate well, because at the end of the day, the accountants and the bookkeepers who talk together talk about their client and work best for their client.
Yeah.
And the clients love it too.
And I think it's fair to say that clients that in fact have relatively healthy self-esteem are probably looking to build a proper advisory panel of experts and get them around the business. Because,
Absolutely.
And it's really when you don't understand the virtues of that, or perhaps, as a business owner, there's a lack of sort of self-worth, that they're not pushing for those sorts of things.
Yeah. There's also the aspect of business owners not necessarily understanding the respective roles, and there's definitely an overlap in roles these days when it comes to advisory services and things like that. Often we will have a closer relationship with the client because we're dealing with them more frequently. Often we're the first point of call for just a general sort of question. And of course, as a bookkeeper, I also know where we, at a point we'll say, look, that's not for us to advise you on. You need to talk to the accountant with regard to tax matters, etc. as well. So it's really just a mutual respect of what is your particular skill set, who is going to do what sort of activities for, as a BAS agent, as a tax agent, and how can we ultimately support our client in the best way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there you have it. Only about a month away now, so from the day of recording this, of course, and so 2nd of July we kick off.
Don't look at me.
in Perth. So we're very excited about that, and our team will be obviously booking your flights in just a day or two.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks of touring around the country, sharing our stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say that one of the great things about you, Diane, is that you really do step up to the plate and share your opinion, right? and that's something that I guess is part of the reason why we're so excited to have you on the tour with us this year to Big Day Out, because one of the challenges for a lot of the public accountants and some bookkeepers as well is not really sometimes, getting on the front foot and addressing the bigger issues.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things, as you can tell, I'm quite passionate about. So I often get accused of not having a filter, so we'll make sure that I temper that a little bit.
In fact, maybe here that's fine, but at Accountants Big Day, we're expecting the no-filter Diane Lucas at her best.
Great.
So thanks for coming on the show today. And,
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see Di at Accountants Big Day Out 2019.
Thanks very much.